when we come home and it's calm down time or chill time, we want our head rubbed. You know what I mean? We want to just lay our head on your lap and just have our head rubbed or hugged or adore,
Yeah.
that whole thing,
Mhm.
nurtured.
Yeah.
And then what are women going to say? It's not my job to mother you.
It's not my job to raise a man.
It's not my job to raise a man. It's kind of like, all right, fam. And, the men say it's not my job to, treat you like my daughter princess and spoil you. It's like another, I'm just going to leave that. Oh, anyway. So,
yeah. No, but in a way, women are right about that when they say, no, but they are. But they are about raising a man, because there's a difference between showing your partner affection and your partner having an affection and validation bucket that's never ending. And that never ending bucket of try and fill it, but there's a hole at the bottom, and the more she pours in, the more it spills out, the more she spills out, stems from a childhood of never having gotten that. So when women are saying that it's not my job to raise a man, I don't think they're really saying it's not my job to give you affection and nurture, anything like that. Because most healthy women will tell you that, both partners should be giving each other that affection and that nurturing.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's when men didn't get that nurturing growing up, that their bucket can have a hole at the bottom to where the woman will just keep pouring and pouring, and it's just falling right out the bottom, and it's never going to get filled, and it's never going to be enough. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Were my emotional needs met as a child? And how do I seek to fulfill these needs in my relationships now?
Were my emotional needs handled as a child?
Yeah.
How I remember my emotions being handled, I just have this one specific picture. I'm in need, I have questions, or I have a concern, or I have a, desire. I'm asking for something.
Mhm.
And all I can remember is the one finger up, like I'm on the phone type of thing.
Mhm.
And that was kind of like, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case all the time.
Mhm.
That's what I remember.
Interpreted it as.
I interpret it as, there are better things going on in the world that need to be taken care of or addressed before my needs are, which then taught me to try to not have any needs. Because if I don't have needs, then my feelings can't get hurt by my needs not being met. And also, if I present as someone who's, less needy and more helpful, it would add value. It would give me value to the people I'm around, because I don't take, I give.
Yeah.
And so because I don't take and I give, that maybe more people will want me around because of that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a mindset that it put me in. So
as far as this question about emotional needs, it's so funny because I remember when I first started therapy, and my therapist, she said, what are you feeling right now? And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, what are you feeling right now? I was like, and I just, there was just no words. I didn't know what she meant.
Yeah.
So to answer that question about emotional needs, it took me a long time to even understand what that meant. when you're talking about emotional needs. And I think a lot of people can struggle specifically with emotional needs. It's easy for us to know the physical ones. You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you know, that type of stuff.
You one way or the other. So.
But when it comes to emotional needs, we tend to act like those things don't exist. And I think our emotional needs is what makes the world so crappy, because we are all fighting for our emotional needs to be met. And I think that makes relationships really hard. And I think it makes it even harder when you have one partner, and even harder when you have two partners who don't recognize that they even have emotional needs, because unconsciously they're still going to act out desiring those emotional needs to be met. They're still going to do it. They're going to do it in indirect ways. You know,
passive aggressiveness, things like that.
All of that. Versus when they are aware of what their emotional needs are, then they can go straight to their partner and say, hey, I need X, Y, Z, or I feel loved when you A, B, C. But a lot of us are not raised to learn how to verbalize our emotional needs like that. So we become adults and we get into relationships and we do all these, we do the silent treatments and we play the games and we do the, you know exactly what you're doing. You know, we do the, you know exactly what I want. You're just not giving it to me on purpose. And these are the thoughts, you're playing dumb. And we do all of these things and we don't recognize that maybe your partner really just doesn't know. It's almost like we don't want to extend that to our partners, but we expect our partners to extend it to us. Where it's like, just think I didn't know. Well, you understand what I'm saying? So I think that there are a lot of people, adults in relationships, that don't realize how emotionally stunted they are. I think there are a lot of adults in adult relationships that don't realize how emotionally immature their reactions are. Because often we think something that's normal is healthy. If it's normal and you see other people do it, that means it's healthy. And we tend to process things like that.
We do 100%, because I mean, because all we have is the examples we grew up seeing. So is what it is.
Well, until we decide, we choose to do different.
Well, obviously, of course.
But it takes a desire to want to do different. So, what patterns from my parents' relationship do I see reflected in my own romantic relationships?
Ooh. Again, I didn't observe my mother in a relationship. So, I mean, I did see, the relationship that she had with her siblings. I don't know which one she didn't fight with. So, these people love each other, they yell at each other, and they fight. So that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. You're supposed to show passion. I'm passionately involved with you. And so that's why I'm yelling and everything. So that's how it made me show up.
So I didn't see any romantic relationships either growing up. I lived in a household with a lot of single moms. So I just saw them taking care of everything. And I think that definitely impacted me. Again, that self-reliance where it's like, and that impacted our relationship, because often it's like, for me, it before recognizing my own shit, like people don't like to do, like, it was like, why can't you just take care of yourself? Your own emotional needs. Like, because I was so used to handling my own emotional needs, understanding why someone else needs another person, to, what's the word? Fulfill their emotional needs was foreign to me. And that caused some strife in our relationship. So it was something that I had to learn to recognize that, okay, I get it, but it took some work to get there.
There's some thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah. It's like, you're supposed to do this thing. It took some work to get there.
Yeah.
How did my parents' or caregivers' relationship status, single, married, or divorced, influence my views on relationships?
I don't know why, but actually, I do know how it affected it. I don't ever want to do this. I don't ever want to have this. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to not be able to grow old with someone. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I make whatever relationship I'm in work. And I give my full effort into it. That's actually the first time I actually thought about that. But I think that's maybe that's where the motivation comes from. The motivation comes from, if you're contentious and fighting everyone around you, there's going to come to a point where the people around you are not going to want to be with you anymore. Whether it's, sibling, work, significant other. So it turned me into people pleaser and someone who would do whatever it took to make sure that those around me didn't, or in my mind, see me a certain way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's how it affected me. I think it affected me by seeing it. I'm like, yeah, I am not going to treat the person I'm with, as if they're not important. And in turn, they're going to see my value and love me for it. So I hope that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think for me, the way that I grew up in a household full of single women, single moms. Mm-hmm. So for me, the way that impacted me was that I never really thought about what it would be like to be in a relationship. It wasn't even a thought. It's hard to really explain that. Yeah. Especially as a woman, it's hard to explain that because society says this is the only thing women think about, or this is the primary thing women think about. So it can be really hard to explain to people why that thought just doesn't happen, or why you're not even considering it. But when you grow up around seeing women do everything, it's the norm. Like this is just. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just you know what I'm saying? I do. And then that impacted our relationship in that for you, like you were talking about with the people pleasing, it showed up in a need to be needed. And for me, it showed up in that need to be needed feeling very smothering. So it's like, stop doing that. You're doing too much. And then we'll get into these, back and forth about it.
Yeah. So the cycle would be that would make me feel rejected, which brings me back to my childhood where my father rejected me, my mother didn't have time for me. And then now I'm histrionic. And, crazy, we have to address it. So it's like, that's what the whole thing was. It's like, you're on that end of the spectrum where kind of like space. I'm on that end of the spectrum. It's kind of like, what the hell is space? So
and the thing is that when you're in it, you don't see the issue with it. When I say you see the issue with your partner's reactions. What I mean is you don't see the issue with your own reaction. But once you see it, you can't unsee it because it's like, it's like you recognize that cause and effect. Like, okay, when I shut down, it makes that. Okay, when I get big and loud, oh my God, it causes that. And once you recognize it, you can't unsee it. But again, you have to be willing to see it. I think that tweet at the beginning, okay, are we allowed to say tweets? Or do I have to say, what is it called? X's? I don't
like, a tweet.
No, but what is it? What's the proper term? No, but I'm serious. What's the term now?
I don't know.
Well, they don't say.
They don't say I X'd something. I tweeted something. I posted something. On what? On X. That's what they'll say.
Okay, well,
so
I'm
instead
not on
of
there,
you tweeted,
so
you have to say I posted on X.
Okay, I'm not on there.
So you tweeted,
okay,
right?
Okay. Well, I didn't tweet, but the tweet that at the beginning of this video about the guy that was saying that, for the Black community, there's all these shows, and all these conversations about relationships, and yet our rates of fatherlessness and divorce and broken homes are higher than other communities. And that last part that we were talking about is what made me think about that tweet, which was it's very easy for us to recognize. We can sit and have conversations about where our parents went wrong. We can sit on our therapist sofas and talk all day about where our parents went wrong. But most people don't want to see how their parents' wrongs are within them as well.
Yep.
Or at least some of them. Not necessarily all right, how it shaped them. Most people don't want to look at themselves that way.
Yeah.
And until we are willing to look at ourselves that way, we're just going to bring that mess into our relationships. And no matter how many partners you change, you're just going to bring that mess into the next relationship until you actually do your own internal work. But it can be really hard to want to look at ourselves that way. It's painful. It's not an easy thing to do. I would never say that it is, because once you start to do that work, it hurts. It's painful.
Yeah. That you took it. What I was trying to say is, like, people don't want to actually have to face themselves and really understand, hey, this is you. And it's like, don't do that. Don't remind me of that. I'm too busy, especially with how social media allows people to just create whatever narrative they want.
Yeah.
And this is who I am. And everybody believes this is the person's life.
Yeah.
People actually really peeling the onion and being able to be exposed to their own selves and really see themselves. Most people can't do that, man. That's why when people go to therapy, that's some really tough stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and that's what I would ask people. It's, I can say to you, you're perfect. You never do anything wrong. And you spending your entire life believing you're perfect and you never do anything wrong and you never have the relationship that you want. Are you cool with that? If you're cool with that, then I think those beliefs are working for you.
Correct.
The belief that I'm perfect, it's working for you because you have no desire to have your dream relationship anyways. So you're fine. But I would say to
or you have it because it's working for you.
It's, you don't.
I know it. I'm just saying, you know.
But if you're single, that to me means you don't have it.
Right.
But it's like, if you are willing to look at yourself and say, okay, where might I be going wrong here? Then maybe you'll be able to see why you attract the people that you attract. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. So did I have any childhood experiences that made me feel particularly loved or unloved?
Well, not having my father around it made me feel wanted.
Yeah.
And made me feel unwanted, made me feel unloved. Yeah, like I think the majority of the time where where I started to feel a certain way, I guess I would say around high school.
Yeah.
Because before then, maybe you're too small. Oh, whoa, shoot! I just realized it. I spent pretty much the majority of my time in middle school by myself at home.
Yeah.
Because mother would be working, so I'd be home. So, being home alone all the time didn't feel good. That I don't know if it made me feel unloved. It just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that for sure. I already mentioned my father, in terms of, you know, him not being there, that I made me also feel unloved. Those are the only two that are, you know, oh my. Those are the only two that are ringing a bell right now. So yeah.
Okay. For me, I would say two. I would say one experience that made me feel loved and one that made me feel unloved.
Oh, okay.
The one that made me feel loved. So again, I grew up very, like, again, this is not a mark on my caretakers whatsoever, because I wasn't just one of those kids. I just didn't talk a lot. I just went internal, you know, to care of my own feelings, to care of my own psychological and emotional needs. It just became my norm. That was my autopilot. So this isn't to blame my caretakers in any way, shape, or form. But I don't have a lot of memories of an adult coming to me and saying, hey, what do you like? And then proceeding to do that thing that I like. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so I have one particular memory that till this day, it's the smallest thing in the world, but will always make me feel special because of it. And what that is that, like I said, I was raised by my grandmother and my aunt. And my aunt, she would bring, when I was about, I'm going to say maybe 7, 8 years old, somewhere around there. She would bring like packs of gumballs, like the big round gumballs, for me from work. And I can still, you know, visualize the moments when she's handing those over to me. And you know that because you know that if you want to see me grin like the freaking, you just bring me a pack of gumballs and it's over. Because I've associated the gumballs to being loved and being cared for.
It's like a reminder.
And having a reminder and then having someone thinking of me with, you understand what I'm saying? So I've associated those gumballs. So I could be in a store, you know, you're walking through the line and they have all the candy. Where is it? Like, Marshalls, Ross, TJ Maxx, all those stores, and they have all the candy. There isn't a time we won't go in that line that my eyes will not scan for those, and you know that. It's like, where are the gumballs? And because that's an anchor for me. That's an anchor of a loving action. Because I didn't have a lot of those growing up, and so that one means a lot to me. And I never shared that with her, so I probably should. But that one means a lot to me. On the other end, an experience of feeling very unloved for me was, again, not to sound like a broken record, but I was raised by my grandmother, and my entire family was Catholic. But then my mother had gone through a horrible divorce with my father, and then she became a Jehovah's Witness. So growing up, I was in between being a Jehovah's Witness, being Catholic. Like it was just like this. Like there wasn't like a you're just this or that. When you think about a religion like Jehovah's Witness, as opposed to Catholicism, they are night and day, right? Like it's Christmas, no Christmas, birthday, no birthday, Easter, no Easter. Like they're night and day.
Yeah.
So, but that situation where I felt unloved, I would say I was probably about 9 years old, and it was Christmas time, and we were at my aunt's house, and then it was me and my other 2 cousins, so 3 kids. Well, 4 kids. They had 3 kids, so 4 kids were sitting around the Christmas tree. So we're all like under 10. I'm like 8 or 9 years old or something like that. And the other 3 kids, they're opening their gifts, and they're happy. And there's just lots and lots of gifts. They're opening their gifts under the tree. And then again, I'm sitting there. And till this day, I have pictures of it. And it took me a long time to process that, because looking at those pictures for a long time, I couldn't even stomach them, because it would just bring back that painful memory. But basically, it's just me sitting almost like behind the Christmas tree, kind of like hiding out, because there was nothing under the tree for me. You understand what I'm saying? And as a kid, that's painful because you're watching your cousins, whatever. Remember, one of my aunts says to one of my other aunts, "Hey, did you bring anything for her?" And my other aunt goes, "No, her mother doesn't even want her to celebrate Christmas." Now, the reason why I'm sharing that story is that as an adult,
they weren't thinking about you.
Right. As an adult, I can say, "Oh, well, my aunt was respecting my mother's boundaries." But as an adult, I can also say there was a massive misattunement there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Wow. And that was one of those very painful memories for me. So even when we were going through couples therapy, we had sessions where we'd be talking about how you want to buy me things, and I would, not liking compliments and not liking gifts, and they would make me feel very uncomfortable. And that's just one story where I've just learned to not trust compliments and not trust gifts, and I had to do a lot of my own work to get better at that, because that impacted our relationship a lot.
Definitely.
So it took a lot of work to get there. But I want to make sure that I say here that it can be very easy to blame our parents and our caretakers. But something that was very life-changing for me is when we ground ourselves and we recognize that there's something called identifying moments. And our identifying moments means our strongest memories that we remember from childhood that we say is our story. So that would be 3 to 5 memories from our childhood. Most adults have maximum 8 identifying memories of how they write their story about who they are and what they deserve and their worth and their value and all of that, right? So for me, that Christmas story is one of my identifying moments. But what's empowering and life-changing is when we recognize that if you multiply the number of years you've been alive by the number of days in a year, you've been alive for a lot of years. So by the time you're 10, you've been alive over 3,000 days, right?
Yeah. If you multiply the amount of days.
By the time you're 10,
said years. Right?
10, yeah. 10 years by days. By the time you're 10, you've been alive over 3,000 days. Nevertheless, how many days or moments do you actually remember? So the reason why I want to say that is there could be a lot of moments in our lives where our parents did show up for us and they were there for us, and we just don't remember them because we don't have that emotional tie to those memories. I just want to make sure that I say that, because when I tell stories, it's in no way to vilify my caretakers at all. It's just part of our human experience. We create our own stories about who we are, our identities and stuff like that. I probably just rambled a little bit there, but you understand what I mean.
You're more than you understood. Yeah, that probably that helped a lot of people, I think. It kind of reminds of that movie Inside Out. I think that's where we're talking about the different core memories and everything. Like for me, the positive for me was food. It was just, it was just, that was like, okay, I'm loved. You know what I mean? And it was very important for me. So, all kinds. You know what I mean? So, it wasn't, let's go shopping. It wasn't, let's go to the park. It wasn't, let's watch a movie together. None of that stuff. It was definitely for food, for sure. So,
How do my childhood experiences with gender roles influence my expectations in a relationship?
So, again, growing up, I did not see my mother in a, relationship dynamic. I saw my mother doing everything. I saw her cleaning. I saw her cooking. I saw her working. I saw her everything. So, that was that. the male figures I had around me, I would sometimes see them fixing things. Yeah, that's pretty much where it stops. Maybe like take out the garbage, that's pretty much it. But other than that, I observe my mother doing everything.
Yeah.
And so with that said, what was I looking for that, I guess, in you?
Mhm.
I think I was looking for the things that I needed that I didn't get from you.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And that's what it is.
I can definitely agree with that. I don't think you ever had that misogynist view of what gender roles are supposed to be. I don't remember ever really experiencing that with you.
Mhm.
But I do think that the one part that might fall a little bit into the it's not even misogynist, but into it's a woman's role, would be that the emotional needs, like the emotional labor. And I think that men in general are conditioned to think that emotional nurturing and emotional labor is a woman's role, is a woman's job. And I don't think you ever, from my perspective, I never experienced you as having that as a conscious thought, but just in the ways that we interacted with each other, it just seemed like there was an unconscious need
That's what you're supposed to give.
That's what you're supposed to give to me. So I can definitely agree with that.
I mean, we did another video where you said that men don't often give emotional support to their significant others, and so, and women get it from other women.
Friends too. Yeah.
So then it then makes me feel like, then isn't it right for men to actually, because women expect that from their friends.
Yeah.
Emotional support.
Yeah.
So then why wouldn't men expect that from
friends?
No,
but they should.
I don't. One second.
Okay.
Here. I know what you're supposed to do, right? Fully understand that.
Yeah.
But then we have reality.
Yeah.
Right? Reality is, male friends, let's get over it. Let's go shoot some hoops. Let's go to the strip club. Let's go to the club. Let's go find some women. Let's go We'll get some beers, whatever it is, right? Let's get our mind off it. That's typically, again, I'm not saying all, but that's a typical reaction.
Yeah.
Right? 4 women can all decide to have a sleepover and all sleep in the same bed together. And it's like, come and snuggle and watch whatever together. It's not the same. Now, with that said, men will lie to you and tell you that they don't want, not from other men.
Yeah.
Right. But that they don't want that. Or from, they're not going to say it in public too, like from women either.
Yeah.
But they desire, like, especially Black men, right? It's like we have a role to play, and it's supposed to be the toughest, baddest, hardest, that whole thing. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And when we come home and it's calm down time or chill time, we want our head rubbed. We want to just lay our head on your lap and just have our head rubbed or hugged or adore, that whole thing, nurtured.
Yeah.
And then what are women going to say? It's not my job to mother you.
It's not my job to raise a man.
It's not my job to raise a man. It's kind of like, all right, fam. And, the men say it's not my job to, treat you like my daughter princess and spoil you. It's like another, I'm just going to leave that. Oh, anyway. So.
Yeah. No, but in a way, women are right about that when they say, but they are about raising a man, because there's a difference between showing your partner affection and your partner having an affection and validation bucket that's never ending. And that never ending bucket of try and fill it, but there's a hole at the bottom, and the more she pours in, the more it spills out, the more she spills out, stems from a childhood of never having gotten that. So when women are saying that it's not my job to raise a man, I don't think they're really saying it's not my job to give you affection and nurture, anything like that. Because most healthy women will tell you that, both partners should be giving each other that affection and that nurturing.
Yes.
But there's when men didn't get that nurturing growing up, that their bucket can have a hole at the bottom to where the woman will just keep pouring and pouring, and it's just falling right out the bottom, and it's never going to get filled, and it's never going to be enough. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think we've reached a point of contention. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Everything you said, I agree with.
Yeah.
Now, counterpoint to that's going to be is, okay, I'm going to be like, well, we both need to be giving us emotional, I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
Now, do those same women feel like, especially the ones who, like their red bottoms or their purses or their, gifts and this, that, and the other, right? Do they feel like, hey, this should be 50-50. It should be not 50-50, but this should be even. If I'm out, if he's out here buying you the gifts you like and getting you to finer things, well, what are you buying for him? It's like, you know what I mean? There's going to be, you're going to make the face. Mm-hmm. Again, let's bring it back. You just said, it's like pour into this bucket with a hole, right? And now emotionally, you have to visualize the hole at the bottom of that bucket with how much, she's holding him or rubbing, like Method Man said, she rub me on my back and say, baby, it'll be okay. And the nurturing words and, the softness and everything else, right? Well, where's that for her?
I used to love that song until I realized there's a lyric that says, you don't need a ring. He says something like, you don't, and I was like, no.
Whatever. Anyway, right? So, you don't need a ring, you got a mind if you're on. That's how it goes.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, again, showing our age. So again, it's like, you have to visualize that whole, like, wow, she hugged me and rubbed my back and held me and made me feel warm and fuzzy inside without my homie seeing whatever, right? And okay, you're not doing it. And of course, there's a hole at the bottom. Okay, cool. Now, the women, which again, you made this, I know you're not materialistic, but stereotypically, it's when you see commercials, he went to Jared. Oh my God, he got me this thing. Valentine's Day. Oh my God, he got me this thing. It's like, that's the dance that men have to do. They have to go buy things. They have to go, here, look what I got for you. Look at this. Look at these roses. Look at these diamonds. Look at this purse, whatever, right? So, going back to what I was saying, men can feel like that is a never ending, pull. Like a man can just close on a house for his wife. Again, a materialistic type of wife, and just close on a house. Hey, baby, I got you your home. And now it's like, I need new appliances. I need to do this. I need to do that. Blah, blah, blah. And a real man needs to be, and then a guy can feel a certain way about that. I'm not saying, again, please understand. I'm not here saying that shouldn't want to do these things. But again, I'm just asking the question. It just comes across as, hey, if the things that men need, well, are you giving that to her? Cool. Well, the materialistic women that like their shiny things that, they can show off to their friends and this, that, and the other, and their bags and everything, right? Okay. How are they reciprocating that?
Yeah, well? Initially my thought is they are different, but again, I'm not a man. So what I would say, what my question to that man would be this. Yeah. My question to that man would be, does he desire those things from her as well? So let me, and if he does, he needs to be open and honest about that. Because if he has a need or a desire for his partner to pour financially into him, then he should share that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying about the emotional labor and the nurturing, most people, male or female, regardless of orientation, desire nurture in their relationship. They desire affection. So that's why I say it's different. Yeah. But if a man says, I have a desire, I have a need for my partner to financially pour into me, that's okay. But I haven't heard many men say that. As a matter of fact, I've heard men say the opposite. We don't care about your money. We don't care about your degrees. So if you're saying you don't care, it's not really constructive in a relationship to say, well, why do I also have to pour into you this emotional nurturing and this emotional affection, but you don't have to pour into me financially? Because you've already said that your part of your standard is not that financial aspect.
Fair.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yep, I mean, you can't just constantly move the goalposts, pick your side. You either want a partner that financially will pour into you, or for you it's just something that really doesn't matter. You might just be indifferent to it, or it might be something you don't want at all. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. We got a little bit off topic.
No, we are. That's another episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question?
Yes.
Okay. What fears or anxieties do I have about relationships that might stem from my childhood?
Being abandoned.
Okay.
One sentence.
That's it. Done. Period.
That's it. Nothing else. Romantic. Yeah. That's
it. That's the whole answer.
That is it. Being abandoned. I know I tend to be long-winded, but that was very easy for me to answer.
That's okay. So can you tell me what the magic sauce behind that question was to make you so short with you? Like,
a pain point that I don't think I've healed from.
Okay.
And I'm still healing from.
Yeah, I won't use that.
No,
I didn't expect that.
No, it's okay. A pain point that I still have not healed from, that I am healing from, that I'm still in the process of healing from. And, learning how to self-soothe and, and cope and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's abandonment. Yeah. Mm. I'm gonna say something else. I'm gonna share something. There was a moment I had very, very recently where our oldest got his first ticket and was pulled over. And he called and said, "Hey, Dad, and I am pulled over. They're saying I need to have something for the motorcycle, and I don't have it." And so I drove and I went there, spoke to the officers. They said, "Oh, he needs to have a certain insurance." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." I took care of it, called State Farm, fixed the issue with the insurance, everything done. And after that, they gave him a warning, he got to go home. And then I got back home as I was finishing up building the computer for my other son, the gaming computer for my other son. The oldest one was about to walk. I was like, "You know what? I'm going to share something with you." I just had a thought where what you just experienced, it's something that I only thought white people got.
Which is what I did.
I'm going to explain to you. Like, the knucklehead sons that, get in trouble and then their dads come through and they say a couple things and then their sons don't have to deal with consequences type of thing. Right? I only thought that was it was like something I saw maybe because of too much TV or whatever it is, like white kids get with their dads. I never experienced that. And I don't know if I'm speaking correctly, but it's kind of like, it's something I would think like Uncle Phil would do it with, with Will Smith, right? Yeah. Will would get in trouble, he was playing, the episode was playing pool, he was losing, Will, Uncle Phil would just come through and save the day. And then
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question here?
Please do.
What would the alternative of that be? Like, meaning, I'll ask you about Uncle Phil, how Uncle Phil would handle the knucklehead young man who makes a mistake. What would the opposite of that be? What would be the alternative?
That's where I went to. What I told him is, can I share something with you?
Yeah.
I said, what you just experienced, I'm imagining myself in your position, how scared I would be getting my first ticket as a black man, blah, 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 2 white cops, blah, blah, blah. And I, especially in today's society, and I thought to myself, who would I call in this situation? And I told him that.
Jeez.
I went to him and said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have to, that would be something I told him. And I literally told him that because I'm trying to share more things with him and everything and be more open and everything. I literally told him, I'm going to my next meeting with my therapist next month, I think. I'm actually gonna go over that with him because I sometimes when I handle certain situations, just handle them.
Yeah.
And we're getting personal, I guess. I just handle them and I don't really realize until afterwards the feeling I had from him. I'm kind of okay, handle, right? And so I was there and he was chilling. Look, I'm in the car, phone call, boom, and done, handled. Got home, I said, if you can get a warning, shit. There was a female white cop and a male white cop, and he understood, okay, have a good day, bye. He's a good kid, whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, if I'm 21, I'm pulled over, what do I do right now?
Yeah.
How do I handle the situation? Who do I call? Who do I speak to? Is my dad going to come here and say, don't worry about it, son, I got you? And nothing. And so now again, would it maybe be my mother or whatever? I'm assuming, but then at the same time, my mother would probably be at work.
Yeah.
And, being what we do, we own our business and everything. We can kind of make our own hours, everything else. We have the flexibility. So it's like, even that's the availability of this being able to call and speak to another male.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And say, hey, this happened. I already, being that I am a Black man as well, I already know the situation. I got there as soon as I could. I was calm, blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
And so
you know, it's, geez, that's a little tough for me. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, no.
But it's a few things, but thanks for sharing that, by the way. But
part of my, this is open, but part of, because as you heard, what you were talking about before, because all related, about, you know, smothering and everything else, even though it took me a while to fully understand. I think I told you this recently. You are not my therapist.
Say that again for the fellows out there. Say it again. Say it again.
That's why I was saying it's related, because what we're talking about with, you know, maybe it'll be okay, it's like, because Black people, for the most part, therapy, yuck. Now, Black women have taken the charge for that. And of course, I'm hearing more and more Black men, you know, right? But again, we know what the numbers are, right? Yeah. And so my mother didn't therapize me. So Black women that I'm dating or married, that's your job. Do it. And it's like, you're putting all this pressure on her. Right? And so, so like I said, you're not my therapist. And so if you've noticed, I used to come to you every day and just dump my emotions or whatever I'm feeling on you, everything. But then, you know, the therapy, I realized again, that's my therapist's job. Yeah. That doesn't mean keep things from you or whatever. And I'm not trying to intentionally. It was more so, you know, internalize, deal with it, cope with it, and heal, and, you know, on your own type of thing. And so that's what it was.
The line of sharing and dumping is very fine.
Yeah.
And it's a dance that people, it's a very fine line. Something that I tell people often is for us to normalize when we call people for emotional support, to first tell them, what I need right now is to vent. Are you emotionally available to take on my stuff right now? Because culture doesn't teach us to do that. We'll call friends and just go off and dump it. We don't know what type of day that friend even had. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's the same with your partner. You walk into the door, you just start emotionally dumping. You don't know what type of day your partner had. So I think it would be healthy and helpful if in the culture we make it we normalize saying, hey, I need to vent right now. Do you have the emotional bandwidth to take on my venting right now? Yeah. And also to recognize that if your partner or your friend says, I can't right now, that it's not a rejection, you know, that your friend still cares about you. They're just letting you know that, hey, right now I don't have the bandwidth to I have my own shit. I can't take on yours right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I got a little bit off topic there, but as far as what you said about the
who would I call?
When he got pulled over, who would you call? I have those experiences all the time with our kids, because nothing will show you how much you didn't get until you have kids. Because it's in interacting with your kids that you start to recognize how many things you did not get. It's like how you handled that situation with a ticket, because in doing my own work, when he called me about the ticket, I had my pause moment, which was, okay, my natural reaction is to fix. So my natural reaction is do this, do that, do this, do that. But I paused and I said, okay, I need to allow a little bit of like cutting the cord, you know, self-reliance. And my response was, okay, give me a call after it's resolved. Like after it's taken care of, give me a call, tell me how you're doing, versus telling, do this, do that, do that. Because initially my thought process was very simple. It was, okay. And I was going to come to you and say, hey, he got pulled over. Can you go down there? You know, whatever. But I stopped myself from doing that. So
that was good.
I think we just don't realize how much we didn't get until
even having the ability to call 2 phone numbers.
Yeah.
Hey, mom. Hey, dad. It's like how many people in our community.
And I can absolutely 100% empathize with single moms, even that tiny example, because in that moment as a single mother, like I say this to our son all the time. Sometimes I'm like, hey babe, I'm your mom. You are 6'2". I am 5'3", 128 pounds. So sometimes, you know, yes, I'm mom, but you know, in comparison, you're like literally a foot taller than me. So just even being able to have a husband to say, hey, go, you understand what I'm saying? So I can empathize with single moms when they're always the firefighter that has to go in and put out the fires that their kids started, and not having that support from a husband or a partner to take some of that load off of them. Like that's a lot to deal with, especially for moms that only have sons. You know, like that's tough, man. You know, that's really tough. That's tough.
That was good.
Yeah. Okay.
Reason number 2,758. Why women should want to get married.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are annoying as hell. What marriage is good?
You gotta see.
You guys are still annoying as hell.
This is how we.
You guys,
this is how we kind of like get out of our, somber. We kind of like, kind of
I'm just
joking
saying,
there.
Annoying as hell. Marriage is good.
It's great.
But
it's good.
But you guys are still annoying as hell.
It's good. Or
You're just annoying as hell. That's all I'm gonna say.
Is it great or is it good?
Next question.
Wow, that's crazy.
Where are we? Okay, next question.
Mm-hmm.
What were the expectations around independence and dependence in my family?
Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, I was an extension of my mother.
Yeah.
And that is it. I did not exist.
The end.
That's it. There's no autonomy, independence. Next. Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess.
But she did her best. I'm not trying to disparage anybody. Yeah. So, I was an extension of my mother. It was just an enmeshment. Whoever doesn't know what that means, look it up. Enmeshment. I was enmeshed. It was just like, how they always show like those funny things with like slaves with their slave masters, like they're like, master hungry, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
We's hungry.
Yeah.
It was basically that. If she's happy, I'm happy. If she's not happy, I'm not happy. And I'm gonna add a little twist to it, which is what I brought into a relationship. This person upset. I'm sharing this with you. Why are you not upset too? You're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Are you not on my side? Are you not on my team? And that was very contempt. Like that caused a lot of battles. It's like, I love this. Why? What do you mean why? You should love this because I love this.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then do we even love each other?
Yeah.
Everything I know is a lie type of thing, right? And so that's independence. There was no, you know what? No, here's the thing, right? I was indirectly taught my independence. And how did it come? And you probably see that because you see it in our kids. You notice how our kids like to solve their own issues. Meaning if they have to fix something, they want to fix it on their own.
Yeah.
Right? They want to figure it out on their own, right? Because you told me, like, well, that's what they observed me doing.
Yeah. The funniest part for me is watching you get mad at our kids for traits they got from you. And often you will label those traits as negatives. Because there's certain traits that are hard for us to take from kids, like when they're, outspoken, sometimes it can be like, oh, but in other situations, it's good for them to advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
So, that figuring things out on their own is something that would really frustrate you. But internally, I'd be dying of laughter because I'm like, your kids are mirroring you. That's where, like that, the figure it out and don't read the instructions and who needs a manual of instructions. That's their dad. That's who that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And, and so, they like to do things on their own. They like to solve things on their own and everything. And so what happened with me was, I, for the 10th grade, I'd say 11th grade, right?
Yeah.
11th grade, I started getting a little mustache, I started getting some, I was like, wait, this girl with me a letter, she likes me. I was like, what?
I don't know if that it is with a mustache.
No, I'm not saying it does. I'm just, it's like, I don't know what's going on here. I was annoying and all of a sudden like, I have like 4 or 5 different girls in high school that I'm like, okay, they're giving me a lot of attention or they like me around or there's the 3 years sending me notes. And I'm like, this is different, right? And so it's like, you know what? Kind of have to start caring about how I look now.
Yeah.
And so, the $100 school shopping budget
for the year.
Right? Just wasn't doing it. And so, what are you going to do about it, sir?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and got myself a job. And all my job did was, I wait every 2 weeks for my $200 paycheck, right? I would take my $200 paycheck. I go to the urban store. I buy myself, mention the name. I buy myself, 3 of this, urban wear shirts, maybe a pair of jeans, and then wait another 2 weeks, do that again, and then I started getting my collection. And then, it became like I became the fashion guy with my class, whatever. That guy always dresses well, and then. And I had shoes and, I had my headphones, I went and took my bus. I didn't ask for any ride. I figured it out. I did a lot of figuring out on my own. And so I was forced into independence. And because to get the things I wanted. And so that's kind of like how, but it wasn't like, hey, son, here's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm speaking in my dad voice. My dad wasn't there. So my mom, right? It wasn't, hey, babe, or hey, do this, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to save your money, right? So, again, that's not to say that my mother wasn't there. Like, when there was an issue at work, she'd be helicopter mom type of thing. You know what I mean? But so she was there in that sense. But, which probably wasn't a good example for independence because you're supposed to. I remember I did that with you too, which is
my goodness, that was such a huge point of that was another point of contention for us.
Love.
Because when it came to parenting, something like you were saying, you would show up for our kids when they were in the same way your mom showed up for you.
Correct.
Which was you would go and handle everything, talk for them, And for me, it was the opposite, where it was like. It has to be age appropriate, obviously.
Yes.
You want to be there as a source of support, but you want them to know that they can speak for themselves.
Correct.
And one of our biggest, like you were saying, even in our relationship, anytime you would speak for me, I would it was like that was such a huge, that would cause, a lot of issues because I don't like people speaking for me. Now, if something happens and, I'm not around or, I can't be there to speak for myself or anything like that, absolutely I want my husband to be there and, stick up for me and stand up for me. Absolutely. But, that was a huge issue for me. That ties back to my childhood as well. Because again, I was a very quiet child, but at the same time, I was also very stubborn. So it was like, where it was just like.
Did you say was?
I worked on it.
You say worked?
I'm working on it.
Are you?
I'm working on it. But long story short, I don't, it was a huge thing for me.
Yes, it's you.
Okay. We already said that. No, but I don't like people speaking for me. You know that. And that added to that was an issue in our relationship. I had to learn that sometimes someone who loves you speaks up for you, not because they think you can't. And it was a lesson that I had to learn.
Yep. Oh, I did that. Oh, I realized how many times I violated boundaries. I remember going to places like you were trying to work and but it's like I loved you. It was passionate because that's what I saw my mother doing for me.
Yeah.
Like she would, if I got in trouble, she would be the one talking, so not very good.
Yeah.
Not very good. This.
Next question.
Yes.
Okay. How did my family handle discussions about money and financial responsibility?
Yeah. So, I'm making her so mad. Okay. So I remember the first time I got a credit card. So notice I skipped all the way to.
I got you.
When I was able to get a credit card because there was no conversation. I was a college student. I got my first credit card. I was still in school and I was told to get out. Next question.
Okay.
Not, this is what a credit card is. This is how you use it. You want to make sure you keep your utility between 10 and 30%. Don't pass the 30% mark. So if you need to get gas, buy gas. And then wait a couple of weeks and then send the payment in. No, it's get out.
Yeah.
And like, you were there, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think I was there. Yeah.
You were there. That was good times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only financial discussion I had. I don't even know how I got a bank account. Again, independence. I don't know when I was like, must get bank account.
Probably when you got your first job, you had to cash a check. Where were you going to take the check?
Don't know.
What were you going to do with it?
No, wait. No. They would, my first job was at, it was Foot Locker. Man, where did I take the checks? I think, because I remember at Burger King, because that was my second job.
Yeah.
Right? I was a Foot Locker for like 3 weeks. Burger King, they would literally, you get paid, they would pay you out of the register. So meaning like, no, you get a paycheck, right? Let's say the paycheck was like $175, right? They would tell you, here, give them the paycheck, and they would take $175, blah, 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 and give it to you cash. So instead of you taking it, and I'm pretty sure there's some type of like tax that they're doing.
We might have to cut that out. I don't think I'm not certain on that, but I don't think that's legal.
No. This was a privately owned Burger King. It was like, was
but
like.
Still, I don't think.
Oh, leave it. Whatever.
I don't want those types of problems. Before next thing you know, BK is contacting us talking about.
Oh my God! You should have been like a adjuster.
You used to tell me I should have been a risk manager.
Risk manager, like PR. Anyway, it's like I remember. I was trying to remember like where you said, the bank account. Yeah. So I actually don't know. I don't remember going to take. Was it direct deposit? But to what? I don't remember. I don't remember getting a paycheck and going to the bank. They didn't have to take the picture thing. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I got a paycheck. I do not know where the paycheck went.
It had to go somewhere.
I don't know. I had to have deposited the money somewhere. I do not remember where that money went. I don't remember. I got a paycheck. At the first company job I had. I don't remember what I did with the paycheck. I don't remember it. I don't know. I'm 16, 17. Yeah. I don't want to deposit it for what? I got cash, right? Yeah. And so I don't remember opening up a bank account. I'm pretty sure. I didn't.
I'm pretty sure you
did. I don't remember.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. That was.
Oh, I didn't answer that question. So I'll just do 2 in 1. So as far as the answer about independence, I remember that independence was a must, but I don't remember anyone coming to me and saying independence is a must. It was just kind of like intuited that be on your shit, take care of yourself. Do what you got to do, type of thing. It was just implied, I guess.
Yeah.
And as far as the financial question, same answer. It was very much about calculating down to the penny. Like, I don't remember, again, I never had anyone sit me down at a table and say, here's how you budget, here's how you do this, or anything like that. But I do know that my family in general, it's a very like calculate down to the penny, budget. Like that's just how it is. And it's so funny because when you were saying something about, buying bags or something a little bit earlier, and I had to try so hard to control my laughter because I remembered how a few weeks ago you were making fun of my handbag. And it's so funny because it was like a gift with purchase. And I've been using that bag for years because I just don't, but it's just so funny to me, this question, because I never considered how I was raised and how that made me like not, do you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of spending and stuff like that. It's not something that I considered when I was younger. I didn't consider it.
Yeah.
But going through coaching and everything like that, because they force you to do your own work, so it's just funny. So, next question.
Please.
How did my family celebrate achievements and handle disappointments?
Yeah. When I graduated, I remember they threw parties, there was food, things like that. Yeah, it was like, yeah, they definitely do parties for sure. Mm-hmm. The typical thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did that.
I would say probably the same.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I don't think it was like ignored. Like, hey, you just graduated, like nobody cares type of thing. But yeah, it was. Yeah.
For me, it was pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. As far as disappointments, there just wasn't a lot of talk about disappointments. So
got you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What were the unspoken rules about expressing vulnerability and seeking help?
There were no rules. I think it was a lot of passive aggressiveness. Like there wasn't necessarily this is happening, I need this. Although again, my mom was very histrionic. She was like very, she let you know what was going on.
Yeah.
But in a very, I'd say manipulative type of way, where it's like the world is ending.
Yeah.
Not like, hey, this is I need this and done. It's like, it's more, oh my God, like the theatrics, things like that. That's what I remember.
Yeah. For me, it was just, it's like what feelings, type of thing. It was definitely unspoken. There weren't any conversations about vulnerability or anything like that. Like I said, when I saw negative feelings shown, it was because big things happened. Like, there were deaths or illnesses and things like that. That's when you would see, the negative emotions come out. But I don't, like I said before, joy you would see, a lot of laughter, a lot of joking and things like that. But when it came to things like vulnerability, like those things that we'd be very vulnerable about, I don't really remember seeing that. Mm-hmm. And when I say remember, I want to make sure that I say here that it makes sense that we don't pour out all of our vulnerability, negative feelings onto our children. Mm-hmm. So growing up, it makes sense if you don't see a lot of it. But if we don't show our kids what it means to transition from a negative feeling into self-soothing or into seeking support from another person, how are they ever going to learn how to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are things that we just don't think about. And that's something I didn't think about. Mm-hmm. I had to learn that wait, if I don't show them this, then how will they know how to, are they going to interpret, are they going to create a story that they're not supposed to ever feel bad feelings? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And as far as seeking support, I will say my family, like the brothers and sisters, there were like 6 or 7 of them, and they always leaned on each other for support. So that was always there. So my story of not being able to reach out for support, I would not say is because I directly experienced that in terms of seeking support was modeled for me, but I didn't feel like I could do that. Whatever my child's mind, interpreted it, like it was okay for them to do that, but it wasn't okay for me to do that.
To stay in your corner.
Next question.
Yeah.
How did my family's cultural or religious beliefs influence my views on relationships and marriage?
I was raised Catholic, but that's like before middle school. And then afterwards, that was it. So there's basically no religious influence at all in terms of relationships. I know for you, I'm pretty sure that's going to be different.
It's not all that different for me. I don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, in particular, I was thinking about the religious dynamics, but in terms of relationships, probably not yet.
No, there was religion there, like a lot of it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, but I don't remember feeling like my religion told me XYZ about relationships and marriage. Even though technically you go to church and the Bible says Adam and Eve, and the Bible says man and wife, and the Bible says, you leave your mom and you leave your parents. Like you know these scriptures, but I don't remember them ever impacting me in a way where I thought that this is what a relationship is supposed to be, or this is what a marriage is supposed to be. I don't remember making that connection at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither.
And let me say something here too. That's, it's so interesting because, I'll leave that for another episode because I can talk forever about religion. Okay, next question. Were there specific behaviors or traits that were valued or discouraged in my family?
Were there specific behaviors or traits that were valued? I
or
know
discouraged?
What yours is gonna be.
Let's take we'll take a bet on it.
Okay. Yeah. So behaviors that were encouraged. Well, behaviors that my mother discouraged is basically disloyalty or whatever she defined as disloyalty. So, again, I'm friends with this person. This is our friend. I'm not speaking to this person. We're not speaking to this person. And if you violate that, it's like death or something.
Yeah.
It's like that. I remember encouraged. I can't. I'm pretty sure it's there. I can't really remember now.
Yeah.
You told me bet. I know what was, from my understanding, what was this courage on your end was expressing any sort of feelings whatsoever, because that's like weakness. You're not supposed to either cry or talk about your feelings. You basically, okay, now that you have this issue, solve the problem. That's it. There's no like, let's wallow in these feelings and stay here and not solve an issue. So, and then I'm assuming like what was the behaviors encouraged is, I'm assuming on your end, was either achievements, accomplishing things, focusing on goals and you know, while being hyper independent as well. That's what I see. That's what I saw from your family. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna give you half a point because because it wasn't really that, but what was encouraged, I can't say achievement was encouraged. I would say it was expected, but I don't remember it being encouraged, because to me, encourage is kind of verbal, where it's like when you do well, you acknowledge that your child did well, or you might give them prizes or affirmations for doing well.
Got it.
So I wouldn't say that achievement was encouraged. It was expected. Because for me, encourage means you put trophies on the, on the mantle, you put awards on the walls, you say, I'm proud of you, great job, words of encouragement. And I don't remember a lot of that. I think it was just expected. That achievement was just, it's what you do when it comes to school and everything like that, like grades. But I would say what was verbally encouraged was independence and autonomy, and things like traveling the world, and extroversion. Like, these are the things that I would say were verbally encouraged. So I can consciously remember a lot of those comments. What was discouraged, I would say, unfortunately, was empathy in a way, because I always had really high empathy, and you know this, like it took me a long time to get comfortable with that word empath. Like, I can't, it's just hearing it kind of, because growing up, there was a message of your empathy will get you taken advantage of in life. So I started to view my empathy as a negative trait. So I started hiding that even from myself. So I would say that was discouraged. I don't think it was intentionally discouraged, but there are certain things that we say to our kids where we don't check in with them to see what their interpretation was of what we said, and we let them just decide for themselves what we meant to say. And they just, make up their own definition of what mama was trying to say, what daddy was trying to say, but we don't check in with our kids and say, hey, what did you take away from what I just said? You understand what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
It's something that we just don't tend to do.
Take away from what I said? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have them repeat it out loud.
So that you can, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Next question.
Yes.
In what ways might I be seeking validation and approval from my partner, similar to how I sought it from my family members?
People pleasing, having boundaries, never saying no. I'm happy. Why aren't you happy? I like this. Why don't you like this? We have to be the same. We have to be a mesh. We have to be one. If we're not one, are we even together? Are you even my wife?
Yeah.
Are you even?
Do we even love each other?
Do we even love each other? What is life? You know what I mean? Oh, bars. Yeah, that pretty much sums it. That was it. Yeah. I know my answers are short, but yeah.
I would say for me, the way that I seek validation and approval in our relationship is exactly the same way I sought it in my family growing up. And the answer to that is I never sought it. In our relationship, I never sought it either. It just was not the norm for me. I had to learn,
another point of contention for
which was another point of contention for us.
Is
what?
Is
I'm working on it. I am working on it. It's getting there.
Yes, you are.
It's getting there.
Yes.
Right. Okay. But that definitely impacted our relationship because I just don't. It's not my norm to look for the approval or the valid. It's just not my norm. It just really isn't. As a matter of fact, there was when I first started therapy, that was one of the things that blew my mind was when my therapist, she complimented me and I caught the thought, don't do that. I didn't say it out loud, but I caught the thought. Yeah. And I remember I was like, oh, that was weird. Like, what was that? Because I wasn't conscious of it before. And then in my next session, I shared it with her. I said, hey, by the way, I noticed that you complimented me and I had the thought, don't do that. And she asked me, like, what were you feeling at the time? I said, I felt like I couldn't trust you. And that was mind-blowing for me to recognize that, do you understand what I'm saying? It was mind-blowing because I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And how that can show up in our relationship. Because something that, again, that we would go back and forth about is that you'd say something and I would kind of like just brush it off. It's like, oh, that's good. Yeah. Like kind of like, okay, moving on, So when you aren't used to being complimented and getting that validation, it can feel so foreign that it almost feels threatening. And for people that don't have that, it's
when
hard
you're used to getting it.
When you're used to not getting that approval, that validation, or those like I always got them my entire life, but from strangers,
right?
All the time, teachers, friends,
and you believe them.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yes.
It's when you begin an intimate relationship, like a therapist.
Correct. In an intimate relationship, I had a hard time trusting it. If it was a random person that I didn't really have that strong emotional connection with, it was never an issue.
Did you get the same feeling from when you're getting it from your children?
No, not at all. It's very easy with my kids. It was always very easy with my kids.
If kids say something good, you accept it, you take it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But with you, you would already know the struggle. And it wasn't until, because I always knew that I was uncomfortable with attention like that. It wasn't until that therapy session, though, that I caught that thought and I was like, whoa, what the hell was that? It was like, why would you understand what I'm saying? And so it took some work to get better at that. Yeah.
And with me, I'd say it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So not getting the validation or good job and everything else made me needy per se to get it.
And I had to learn how to give it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we give what we expect in return.
Or
so if I don't
repelled by it.
No, for me, I give what I expect.
Yeah. Well,
because
you give space.
Right. I'm not there. More validation, more approval, more compliment. I'm not there. Therefore, I assumed, well, before knowing better, obviously, I assumed that's what you needed. And for you, it was the opposite, where it was like, tell me.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was like, oh my God, you're so needy, Yeah. And then looking back, it's like, oh my God, Melissa, it's so bad. But it was definitely a learning process for me, for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Is that the last one?
So that was the last question, but I'm going to go ahead and load this journal worksheet on our website, and then you can just go ahead and download it. And that way, if you want to, do your own self-reflection and introspection work, then you'll be able to download it straight from our website, and then you can fill it out. And Okay. And the reason why I really wanted to do this episode is because it's very easy to think that our partner is the problem. Like, it's so easy. It's so easy to see our partner's red flags, our partner's flaws, our partner's mistakes, our partner's childhood issues, our in-laws. Well, my husband's like this because his mom was like that. But it's very hard for us to do the same thing with ourselves. To look inside and be like, wait, how might I be showing up in my relationship? What is my role in the breakdown in my relationship? It's really, really hard for us to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good job, wifey. Thank you everyone for joining us on this week on the Couples Development Podcast. let us know what you think. I know this episode got very personal. We'd like to hear your stories as well. Hopefully, can open up some type of dialogue within the community. And we hope to see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.